Hello, Gotta Be a Wolf here, and back with another installment of I Do Improv Stories. Woo! So this time I decided to do a one sentence thing instead of a two sentence thing. Meaning I went online to a random word sentence generator website, and I only chose that one sentence would be randomly generated for me to start the story with instead of two. Just thought I thought I would give it a shot. So let's get started, I guess. All right. The changing of down comforters to cotton bed sheets always meant the squirrels had returned. But why they returned was a big mystery. You see, Mr. and Mrs. Klein just hated squirrels with a deep passion. It wasn't just the fact that when the squirrels came to their home, they liked to just chew through their wooden door frame, nor was it that they broke open all their other pillows and sheets and whatnot to find whatever it is they were looking for in the Klein's new down comforters. Nor was it the fact that every time the squirrels came, they decided to leave them gifts, not just in the form of poo, but also nuts shells, sometimes rabies. That was not a Good Friday. And so the Kleins decided, fuck you, squirrels. And they decided to do that by just laying the outside of their house with traps, right during Corona. And the whole place was on lockdown. So they couldn't leave anyways. Might as well set a bunch of traps outside their house. Even if they can't leave, squirrels can't come in. So they bought at least $700 worth of traps and then laid it out all along their house, all around it, all around their yard and their backyard. They hid it in trees, they hid it in bushes. They even put some dug it underground in case the squirrels had digging powers, because the Kleins didn't know anything about squirrels. But these traps were futile. The squirrels just kept coming. They never saw the squirrels though. That was the weird bit. They always just saw the nutshells, the shit, and all of their different fabrics just ripped apart on the floor in some sort of weird mixture together. It's really odd. But the Kleins did not care for that. They were just pissed. So the Kleins then spent one whole day disengaging their traps in front of their house so that they can get out. And then they spent the next day going to the store with 5 masks, 6 gloves on, and a hat, a jacket with an undershirt, shirt, and sweatshirt on them, and boots with surprisingly squirrel fur, and leggings, pants, tights, and even just big old man underwear, just to be safe. And so they trudged into the store with just beating sweat. Just literally, they made a whole river that they would then swim to back home. That's how much they sweated. But for now, they were in the store. And the store manager said, "Do you guys need some water?" The clients were happy to accept some water. While they were accepting the water, though, they told the store manager just everything that's going on with these squirrels, how the squirrels were just being maniacal, awful people, and how this all started when they got their down comforters. And the store manager said, well, why not switch to cotton bed sheets instead? No, Mr. Klein said. What are you, mad? These squirrels picked war on us. We're gonna kill them. The store manager decided, I'm not gonna mess with these sweaty, hot weirdos. And so he asked what the Kleins wanted from him. The Kleins said that they were like a trap, that is, the most alluring trap for squirrels. Not just something that the squirrels can easily overtake and get into their house to ruin it. So the manager suggested that they buy this ultra high-tech, super big paw grabber. It was not just any old paw grabber, though. It wasn't like the old 1900s paw grabber or the 2002 paw grabber. It was the newest and latest model. It was made of slick metal and the most finest of nails. The manager said that they should put it right in front of their door, and only that one, because it was really good at its job. They should have it so that the paw would go and hit whatever squirrel got close to their door. As soon as the squirrel was underneath their paw, it would snatch them like a cat. It's better than even getting a cat, the manager said. So the Kleins were happy with that idea, not having to worry about millions of traps. And they bought the paw claw for $699, plus taxes, of course. And they brought it home. They spent one day disabling all the rest of the traps in their house, believing that the paw claw would really get rid of the pesky squirrel. And they put the paw claw in front of their door and then slept that night, knowing that next morning there would be squirrels dead on their porch. No, there actually weren't. See, when they went out that morning, excited, like kids, going down to see if Santa brought them Christmas presents, they actually found that the paw claw not only did not have any dead squirrels underneath, but it had managed to somehow inside the house and stop whoever it was from taking a foot near the door, as Mrs. Klein found out, her foot being slammed by the paw claw, nails digging into her skin. Screeching out, Mrs. Klein decided to toss the paw claw very, very, very far with a good kick across their lawn. It hit the mailbox, breaking it. And they were not happy about it, to say the least. So they were going to go tell their manager, hey, we want a refund. Your paw claw sucks. And because they were extra upset with their dwindling wallet, they were going to ask for reparations for all the damages the squirrels had just done the night before to their house, and the shells and the shit. And now the squirrels started making some crude paintings with what looked to be spray paint. It was very weird. After they grabbed the claw paw, they brought it over to the manager and said, they dumped it on his counter, and they said, this is crap. The manager lifted out one of his earphones and went, Mr. Klein went right to his face and said, this is crap. Your paw claw not only didn't catch any squirrels, but it caught my wife's foot. It's crap. It's garbage. It did not work. Well, hold on a minute, the manager said. In fact, I'd say it did work. Mr. Klein and Mrs. Klein said, excuse me? We don't have any dead squirrels to bring you. What happened to them? The manager said, well, no, you don't. But you did happen to bring me Mrs. Klein's foot that got trapped with the paw claw. So it did technically work. It worked rather efficiently from the sound of it. I heard her screams all the way from here. Mrs. Klein turned to Mr. Klein and said, that's true. It did work rather well. It hurt a lot. Would have killed me if I was a squirrel. Manager said, exactly. Just because it didn't work doesn't mean that squirrels wouldn't have gotten caught. It simply means that the squirrels found a different way into your house. And Mr. Claus said, well, you told us to get rid of all the other traps. They couldn't have gotten caught in all the other ones if we got rid of them. And the manager said, yeah, that was just a suggestion, though. You didn't have to follow it. I don't know your household. I didn't know it was so easy to get inside. Mr. Klein looked to Mrs. Klein and said, he has a point. Dang it. What are we supposed to do now? He said to the manager. Well, first, you gotta check out our latest and greatest in squirrel capturing technology. And so he brought them to an exhibit, very elegantly done, as though it's been there for years, judging by the amount of dust building up. But there was all these different traps, from old traps from the 1800s, from traps that were just used today to trap Mrs. Klein's foot. And with each passing trap that they went by, Mr. and Mrs. Klein were very excited. They turned to the manager and said, "We'll take them all." The manager said, "All right, but I'm going to have to take this all to your place, and there's going to be a traveler's fee." Mr. and Mrs. Klein said, "We'll take them all." And the manager said, "Well, there's also COVID restrictions right now. And if I got caught by the police, I'd be arrested. So I'm going to have to leave an additional fee for me even going outside this place." Mr. and Mrs. Klein said, "We'll pay for that." And so it was that the very next day, all the traps that they saw in the manager's place went and were set up by him for an obvious additional fee, twice, because the idea that he would be caught by a cop and asked why is he outside. So Mr. and Mrs. Klein were very excited. They watched him from their porch, just setting everything up. And finally, all the traps were set up. They paid the manager, and then the manager left. Mr. and Mrs. Klein didn't even bother to sleep that night. Instead, they stayed up and watched. They watched not only the front lawn, but also the back. They watched all the floors, the bottom basement that creaked always from the heater, the main floor where they liked to salsa dance sometimes, and the top floor where they did not sleep that night, as well as the attic. Mr. Klein hadn't been in the attic for a long time, and Mrs. Klein really hated to go up there, but this time she was very excited too, because they wanted to see the squirrels get trapped. And the attic had a really good high spot to see all the traps laid out. But nothing came. Or at least nothing that they saw. But nothing actually came, because by the time the sun rose, their house was perfectly fine. Nothing had been touched. No traps had been set loose. It was very odd. They even, instead of going to check each trap individually, fearing what happened to Mrs. Klein would happen to them again, they went up to the attic and looked to see all the traps laid out. But none had happened. Finally, Mrs. Klein called it quits, and she went to go down the stairs, down to the bedroom floor. On her way, though, she happened to notice this just pint-sized hole, and in it was a rope. She got very confused. From what she remembered, Mr. Klein never used ropes. He was an accountant. Why would they even have a rope up here? She started wondering if maybe Mr. Klein had some sort of love for hanging up squirrels and beating them with a piñata stick. She didn't see any way else that Mr. Klein was able to keep his anger under control these past few days from the wreckage that they did. So she shrugged and went back down the stairs. Mr. Klein also gave up at some point and went down to go meet his wife for dinner. On his way down, he happened to notice this toolbox, which was very odd because he wasn't a toolbox kind of guy. He was an accountant. And his wife, she was into nature, not building things. So he thought about it for a minute. And then he remembered the toolbox he got from his wife's aunt. And it was a lovely toolbox. And they got it for their wedding. It was very sweet. Although his wife's aunt did not understand that he was not a toolbox guy. He still appreciated the gift. But he seemed to remember it being purple, not green. But he shrugged. Maybe there was corrosiveness on it that caused the color of the box to be green. And he went downstairs to meet his wife for dinner. She cooked lasagna that day. On the other side of town, a manager of a trap store went and bought himself a mansion when the real estate agent asked, "How did you acquire all this money so quickly? If I remember correctly, you didn't have this much just a week ago." The manager replied, "Well, business has been booming lately. You know those down comforters? The ones filled with geese feathers and duck feathers?" The real estate agent nodded. "Well, those down comforters also have just that scent that really knocks some squirrels and rodents loose. So business has been booming lately. But I just can't help but feel happy about that. Normally you shouldn't feel happy when people's property gets damaged, but it's not like I told everyone to change their bed sheets. I'm just doing what every businessman would do. Not seeing a moment of crisis, but seeing a huge advantage the crisis can bring to me."